Testing one, two. We are live now, and I do see that I have sound. I was having troubles. We're a little bit late. Hello, boys and girls. This is Patricia O'Connor and Frida Reba Darcy here. Tonight is Saturday Night Live Bonsai, and we weren't without our difficulties. I was having trouble bringing up sound, so I could see it going in that I was having trouble, and I decided at the last minute to hit the live button and see if that would go live and see if it would work when it hadn't worked all up until then. And yeah, when that didn't cause a fix, I had to shut that off and start over. So here we are, take two on our Saturday Night Live Bonsai, and my little sidekick is here by my side over here, and what we're looking at here is a tray of, I think, 41 little Japanese black pines, and we started these from seed last winter. Started them from seed last winter underneath that bright light that you can see causing a glow behind me in the kitchen. That's the fluorescent light. I kick it on for backlight before we go live. I just kick on a lot of lights in the house to try to bring up the ambient. But underneath those lights, I can start pines in the kitchen. In about 3 weeks, I'll have a tray of pine trees ready to go outside in the sunlight, and that's kind of what we did last winter. I didn't do a whole tray like you see now. I think I did this half at a time, a few weeks apart, and a couple of them might have already gotten scattered out because two, I don't have a full row here. The last row is missing one, two, three. Let's see, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41. So that's 41 little Japanese black pines that I started from seeds. They actually started from, where's it at? I got a little jar. Oh, here they are. That's probably the other half. That's another 100 or so Japanese black pines coming up. So also I've kind of got a hankering to make some more these things earlier today, out on the balcony. I took one of our little seedlings that we had put a lot of motion in, and I potted it up into one of Elizabeth Crutenden's pots, and it looks pretty good. I hadn't messed with it a lot. I hadn't brought it all around to a finished product yet. I thought that was enough for one day, but I didn't drop that video because I'm going to drop it after this. Within moments of us doing this, I'll drop that, and so we've got that going on ahead of us too. But looking at this, what this is an overgrown, weedy, clovery tray of Japanese black pines. But despite the slight neglect on my part, some of these guys are looking pretty strong already. So not a lot of ado, we're gonna make a mess. This is going to be kind of a mess, and I'm not that concerned about it. We'll try to keep our mess down to right here, and then we'll maintain everything else. I've got the shop vac standing by, ready to clean up our after show shenanigans. So all we're gonna do tonight is I'm just gonna take some time to get to know these guys again, because I've done nothing but water them. As you can see, all the weeds all over them. They haven't been the top priority, probably, that they should be, but they've been doing fine. They're getting fed and they're getting watered daily. So as far as that's concerned, they haven't been needing a whole lot. They haven't been needing a whole lot from me. This one has a cascade of clover coming out, looking pretty lovely, actually. We'll start with it. It's clover. Look at that. It had tried to root in the pot next door as well. Now, this is what we're going to do times 41 trees. Wow, you just hoovered that up like nobody's business. Um, these weeds, they do let those guys go too long. They do compete for all the nutrients and all that. And because I've got the bio gold in here already, um, and because I've got the bio gold in there already, uh, they're sucking up that bio gold, and then the weeds are getting really strong because of that. And then they can just go great guns. The same, the same batch. And look at the size of that guy. Also, it looks like I may have already weeded this one earlier. Sometimes when I'm doing shows with y'all, I'll just pluck one of these up and yank some of the weeds out of it. But I haven't gone through and done this in a while to a tray of trees. We have another tray of trees that see, this is one of two trays that I have like this. The other one is, I think, is older. Is a little older than this one. They're a little bigger. This is the smaller trees. This is the smaller batch of the two. So I could probably go through there and weed it as well, although I think it's probably been weeded more recently. So that's just from our little experiment starting. See this little guy? There are a lot of them have already got escape roots coming out of them. That's good, good, good. And here's the thing. I lost a month. I lost a month where I didn't feel very photogenic. I didn't feel my normal bouncy self. Of what I actually felt like was that I needed to take some time off and heal. And the more time I could take off, the faster I would heal. And the faster I would heal, the faster I could come back. And against that, against the backdrop of knowing that we have some really, really cool projects coming up. I've got a backlog of things I want to do, y'all, that is pretty exciting. But at the same time, I kept going, can still rest. And this is a you can have your cake and eat it too thing. Uh, so we have trees to fold. We have we have trees to fold. We have cypress trees to do our fall cut back on. We have the same to do to our cork bark oak, um, and our maple and our maples. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that I'm looking forward to getting to, and the getting is just now getting good. I think you can still see it. Let's see. It's backwards to me. Can you do this? Yeah. No, you can't. Right, right here. This side is still. Oh wow. Hey Avtech. Hey Johnny. Welcome. And yeah, I'm pretty lucky. Here's the deal. When it comes to my seedlings, this is the smaller ones, and they don't get any ambient light. The only light they get is from the grow lights that I have hanging over. Uh, I have hanging over my balcony, and my grow lights are called F1s, volt volt grow, I believe. Volt grow F1s. They are 740-watt grow lights, and they're probably designed. Not probably. I know what they are. They're cannabis grow lights. They're the stuff that would grow the meanest tomatoes. But I've got two of those hanging side by side, and they should cover a 4 by 8 or a 5 by 8 area. So that's what supplements everything. If we get good light, we get bad light, or Pat gets tossed out of here and has to find herself on a balcony that's not south facing, and we have room to turn up our lights, and those guys only burn about 6 or 7 hours a day. It's good to see you, Avtech. I noticed that I haven't been publishing this much lately either. I've been kind of taking some time off. Um, but then I haven't been able to take time off from other things that are more obligations. So that's just kind of kept my head down for a while. Some of these guys aren't too bad, and a lot of these guys, the clover is actually a lot of escape routes. And some of these guys, the clover is actually competing fairly heavily with what we're trying to grow. Bears the question, just what is it we're growing here? Also, I probably should have gotten my bio gold handy. That way I could have dropped a little bio gold in one of these. I saw my microphone hanging off my shoulder. That way I'd have a little bio gold to drop into one of these every time I finish it up. And you're done. And here's a little. This one was looking a little brown, but I don't really see. I didn't see an issue. Thinking it'll probably be okay. A lot of weeds, though. A lot of weeds. The tree that we made, the little mame, the little mame that we twisted up. No, we didn't twist it up. I didn't put any motion in it. I think the only thing I did was pot it up. And this little tree had originally, when we got it, it was a plug. It was growing out of a plug. So I left about that much of the plug exposed out of the ground. So it was the little tree, and then underneath it was the plug, and then underneath it was the surface. And as that plug began to get more and more exposed, some of those roots within it got really super fat. So today, whenever I unearthed that little tree, we had a we had a little tree sticking up on stilts of roots that were probably about that tall, and I really liked the look of that. So I once again, weenie skewer to the rescue. Rather than have the tree sit up, this is one of my little accidents. Those look really cute together. Another one of Pat's twofers. I said 41. I guess it's 42 because that one. I gotta say, Johnny, that I got some. What did I get? Ponderosas. Whatever it was, I got from Scenic Hill. Those plugs, those trees, they were absolutely some of the healthiest trees I had ever seen. Their shipping was top flight. The plugs were in this gel, this water like Jello, and those guys were. I looked at them and I went, "Y'all never look this good again." Um, and that's kind of the truth. We've gotten some really good use out of those trees. But I was really totally impressed by those guys' game. Hello, Paul Kraus. How are you this Saturday night? I was just looking at this little guy. This is one of our little happy accidents. When it comes time to repot these, I have two uprights that are already in a pot because they were done this. I'll probably do the same. I'll probably try to keep an eye out for a little whimsical pot that I can put those side by side in. You know, they we'll just keep that little Don't want to break up the beetles or nothing. Uh, so far we're just going through, and we have been growing some really good weeds here. But I failed to realize how enjoyable in the early going. I didn't get how much fun it was growing by seed, though. Um, if you want to save yourself a lot of trouble, or not a lot of trouble, if you want to save yourself the space, like this takes over my kitchen, but I'm not exactly Betty Crocker either. Um, right now, I'm kind of using my kitchen to cook with, but I have periods of times where I don't cook anything, everything like But at the same, so I don't mind setting up a grow light in my kitchen and popping a bunch of seed. But it was really super easy just to order a dozen, and it wasn't expensive. I mean, shipping and everything. I didn't have very much money in them. As far as when you break it down to the buy tree thing, they were just a couple of dollars a piece when all was said and done, and they were certainly nice looking trees. So that was a great way to accumulate bonsai material. But there's also a bunch of pine trees around here. I don't know what they are. I don't want to go picking up a bunch of pine cones and then popping them and finding out that they're something I don't need. And I have asked, and nobody can nail down specifically what they are. They might be just hybrids too, but they look like they were planted. They look like they were probably original part of landscaping 40, 50 years ago. My guess is they're Japanese black pines. And if I knew that for sure, I could just as easily. But the pine cones look weird to me. The pine cones look like real hard wood, which kind of makes me wonder if that's what they are. So, that could have just as easily, but just as sure as I spot a black pine somewhere, I could be picking up pine cones and getting seeds for free, as if $15 to the door for 250 seeds was a lot of money. And we're probably we're we're probably 80 per 80% or better when it comes to our, most of my seeds on these guys pop. I'll do a couple of rows in a tray, and I'll maybe give those last two or three an extra 4 or 5 days to see if something's going to happen before I drag them out. But I have had, but usually I don't have too many that skip out on me, and I have had entire trays root before every one of them. I've had 100% before, which I thought was pretty cool uh, for seeds that I got off Facebook. And the guy I got the seeds from, I got it off of like $10 bonsai auction or something, 99-cent bonsai, whatever it was. And the guy's on there with seeds quite often, and he has a really top flight method. He's super fast. He'll list a whole bunch of seeds, so you don't have to worry about winning. Like I've got a couple of hundred packs of these, and everybody just raises their hand, and then he, next thing you know, you raises their hand and gives their Venmo or their PayPal. Next thing you know, you see a little bill for $17, and a day or two later, I mean, like amazingly fast, two little pieces of cardboard that are taped together with two little square blocks of wood in between them will show up, and those little blocks of wood have an envelope between them, and they are thick enough to keep the seeds from getting crushed. Totally top flight. No matter what the mail tries to, whatever they kind of run them through, they're not going to squish them down any more than those little blocks of wood. So all your seeds are viable. And I've had great luck with those. I think I've also seen him list ponderosa seeds, and if I see those again, I think it would be fun to do some. Do 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 do. Oh, that sounds bad. Months germinated, inches tall. Some dropped off from heavy rains. That's the thing. These being black pines, I don't know. I don't know what the deal would have been. I haven't read up on how I would do white pines, but these guys, I didn't do squat. I didn't do squat. I counted out the amount of seeds I wanted to do. I took a preserve jar, filled it full of water, put all of them in there. At 24 hours, I would look at how many are floating and give them the proverbial thump if they were floating. And most of the time, they would sink after that. Maybe they had a little bubble. And the old saying goes, "Those that sink are viable, and those that float are probably not." And one time, I had about a third of them were floaters, and I planted them anyway. And that was one of the ones where I got 100%. But I didn't stratify them. I didn't put them. Didn't do the refrigerator. I went from the Ziploc baggie to the mason jar with water in it, and I let them soak for 48 hours. At 24 hours, I would thump them to see if they would all sink, and then after that, I would plant them all. I just poke every one of them down in one of these, and at the time, all those had in them was perlite. So I've had just as good. You can grow them just as fine with perlite as you can, uh, or you can also use substrate. They're not hanging out in here for years and years. If you go with some kind of top flight soil, you're going to be wasting a lot, I think. But um, popping them that way with just putting them. Oh, and you can see how bright it is behind my head. That's both banks. Excuse me. That's both banks of a 4 foot LED grow light. But whenever I'm growing these guys, I only use one bank. That's either two outside or two inside. I don't usually. Um, yeah, I agree. Perlite is great, and you know, uh, at some point we're gonna throw a little bio gold in that, and when we do that, then we've got a little bit of organic matter, and some other stuff. So I don't really see a whole lot of need to move away from that for any particular reason other than probably aesthetics. I've seen people do perlite. It's just perlite, but I think it's also fine. I think it's fine to use. Um, I don't always rewatch my shows, but I just rewatched one we did recently about substrate. And if you didn't see that, I'm gonna toot my own horn and say that wasn't that wasn't a bad show. That was probably some of our better moves. Um, because like now, I decided earlier today that we would bring in a ton of little pine trees and weed them and get to know them and see how they're doing and keep it light. I decided that earlier, and we haven't really sweated it. But with the show that I did on substrate, I actually lifted a finger and did a little bit of did a little bit of um, more background work than just what I knew about offhand. Otherwise, we've all weeded enough stuff that this isn't highly technical. If I don't have something else interesting to offer while we're doing this, and while we're doing this, you know who else? Um, Steve. Steve at Steve's Backyard Bonsai just started a ton of little white pines. I'm so jealous of being able to start little white pines. It's too temperate here. I kind of live on the same kind of place where Japanese black pine started on the coast, right? I guess I have sort of the same climate that they would have had where they're from, except they would have gotten hurricanes, and we don't get hurricanes here or have it. That may change. Not to be outdone, California may start wanting its share of hurricanes. Um, but I can't have. But there's the mountain varieties of pines. I don't think red pines do well here, and uh, I've been told not to even try white pine. So, for whatever reason, I believed that, and when people tell you something like that, I'll listen. As opposed to the ponderosas, I took a shine. I was looking at some of Bonsai Mirai's ponderosas, and I just fell in love with those trees. And at the same time, I was heard in stereo that you can and you can't have ponderosas here. And that kind of drove me nuts and made me want to go get a bunch of ponderosas. Well, actually, what it made me want to do was get a nice one and then take steps to make sure that nothing happened to it. Except in my case, we were kind of unlucky on my first one. It underwent some troubles on the way down here, so it started off on the back foot. Uh, my second older ponderosa is the one that I hauled upstate this past winter, so that it could overwinter up there, so that it would have the right amount of winter hours and the right amount of So I feel better about that. And then also that's the same tree. That is the same tree, mind you, that I had grafted at Peter T's garden in upstate California. So right now that tree still has little pieces of green frog painter's tape on it, sandwiching those little black pine shoots that have been taken, those grafts that have all been put on there, those scions, and I get to pull the tape off and expose those to the light in November. So I'm really looking forward to that. A month ago, I pulled the tape off and cut the um, the um, the film, the tape film that was kind of wrapped around them, to make sure that they open up and can breathe a little and air out, and don't just rot in there. So I did that, but I didn't really look at them or anything. And I was told not to get too excited about what they look like one way or another, then or when I cut them off, or when I cut the tape off in November. Not to mess with them, and not to worry about the ones that look brown. Just leave them all go and see how they do. So that's kind of what. And then whenever they get started, this time next November, we start cutting back. We start cutting back ponderosa branches so that the Japanese black pine can take over. Now that's kind of wound up that guy, but I would love to start. Some ponderosa from seed and see whether or not how that goes. The 10 that I got earlier this year, we put wire to most of those. I think we've gotten some really pretty trees out of them, and I definitely look forward to seeing how those guys come out. All right, I think that's got us. I don't see anything we haven't weeded. Had I brought the bio gold bag over here, this would have been a good time to drop one of those in there. I'll do that on the buy before I go back. But this is our little tray of stuff we started. We started in the spring. These guys don't get sunlight. They are when we do our balcony tours. These guys are closer to the patio window. They're about 3 feet away from the rack of lights, and the rack of lights is probably most intense at 1 foot away. So they're right in there, pretty much the happy zone for that. But the other ones that are a little older, that are in the second big pile of this, they get some ambient and in those lights as well. So they're kind of double. They're kind of double dipping. But I don't see anything here that I think shows any signs of light deprivation. But I do see a lot of variation, and I think maybe you can too. These guys, these two here, are looking much lighter than the other. Maybe they're not getting. Maybe they were shadowed. Uh, like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Our next drop will be in about 15 minutes when I drop the video that we made today, where we brought a little mame, another little mame into the world with one of Elizabeth Crutenden's pots. Tomorrow is Sunday. It's probably going to be another beautiful day. I'm going to hang out at the house and watch the Grand Prix. After that, I would like to go out on the balcony and do some more stuff. We have a lot of more. We have um, a lot more projects in the works. We have a lot of catching up to do, and I kind of can't wait. So, thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all for coming out tonight to hang with us, and it's good to see some of our old faces here and some of our new faces. And I appreciate you and sleeping beauty over there. Appreciate you, and thank you all. Thank you all for coming. I'll see you all in a few minutes for our other video drop.